Well, my name is Alejandro Durán. I'm a Mexican and American artist who travels between the Caribbean coast of Mexico, where I am right now, it's called Siancan, which is um, on the Mayan Riviera south of Tulum, and and then I also have a studio practice in Brooklyn. So I go back and forth between the Caribbean coast of Mexico and Brooklyn. And in 2010, I came down to this amazing coastline and was horrified to see the beach covered in plastic trash. So I was just shocked. It seemed like it was a garbage dump, like people were coming here to leave their trash, but it's actually a federally protected reserve. So I was really confused, but I quickly sort of saw the colors in the plastic, and I thought, let me see what I can make with this work to try to, with this plastic trash, to try to make art and raise awareness about this issue that in 2010 I don't think was at the forefront of people's consciousness as much as it is now. One of the really interesting things as well was when I would pick up some products, I could see where some of them were made. And so I started to document all of the different countries that were contributing with their trash on this amazing coastline in Mexico. And so far, we've documented garbage from 58 different countries on 6 continents landing on this coast in Mexico. And yeah, so I started the project in 2010 and thought I would spend some time, maybe a year or two working on this. And now here we are 14 years later, and I'm still working on it. It's not a full-time project, but it's an ongoing project. And it started out as a photo series of these installations that I would make. And then one of my key questions for many years was, what do I do with the trash after I've spent all of this time collecting it, organizing it by color, photographing it in the landscape here? What do I do with all of this material? And then it dawned on me that I should create, actual sculptures and installations, and also work with the community to make community-based artwork. So I do education programming, bring my precious trash collection to a school group, and then we'll make like a large-scale installation, photograph it with a drone. And so that education component, and also the a component of cleaning the beaches. So it has a lot of components have developed as part of this project over the years. And then I came up with the idea of the Museum of Garbage, the Museo de la Basura. So the Museum of Garbage is kind of a pop-up exhibition. It's ephemeral. It's not a permanent museum with walls. I put the event on together with the local community here, on three different occasions. The last time was last year in 2023, and created all of the installations and photographs out here in the jungle, and organized beach cleans and this community-based art programming that I just mentioned. So it's really kind of grown over the years into this larger idea that I'm hoping will spread even further. So that's the project in a nutshell.
Mhm. Absolutely, in a nutshell, because even just looking at the photographs and the videos and everything, I think it's much more than that. Um, tell us a little bit about your moment of reckoning, in the sense that you talk so much about environment. How did that happen? Like, when did you start thinking about using art and installation as a medium to talk about environment?
Well, many years ago, when I was like 20 years old, many moons ago, I knew that I wanted to be an artist. It was a decision that I made, sort of an epiphany that that's what I wanted to dedicate my life to, that the world, the earth, just seeing life, especially in Mexico, as this really creative energy in terms of culture and food and music, and I knew that I wanted to be a part of that creative energy, that life force. That's what I wanted to spend my life doing. And then it took me many years to kind of discover what I wanted to then make. I knew I wanted to be an artist, a creator, but what was I going to make? And so many years of exploring photography and video and different art forms, poetry. I studied poetry actually as a student, and then finally, when I discovered this project, I knew that I was onto something that was meaningful, not just for me as a creator, but that was important for the planet and for people to be aware of. And so it kind of brought a lot of different ideas together. I mean, I had been fascinated with nature my whole life, but I had started a photo series on nature, and so it incorporated my interest in nature, also my bicultural background because I'm half Mexican and half American, and so seeing the world's trash, all of our trash, kind of come to this one coast. It sort of had an international scope that was multicultural, and so it brought together a lot of these different parts of me into one project. And it wasn't like I started this project and thought, okay, there's environmental problems, let me go solve them. It was more a reaction to coming to this coast in Mexico and seeing the situation. I didn't come with a preconceived idea. I came and saw this beach in this terrible state, and and the project and the art that I created from this material, this trash, was a direct reaction to seeing the problems firsthand. So yeah, there's always a little bit of the background of how I came to this project in my career.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, I think a lot of the body of work has evolved as you have kept continuing working on this project. Like, I think it started as a photo, as a series of photographs, and then it turned into an installation. And now it's a full-fledged museum. I think that's very important as artists. I used to abandon my work most of the times, thinking that this is it. This is the end of this particular narrative. But I think it's important to sort of carry it forward, and it takes different forms and shapes as you keep working on it.
Definitely. Yeah, I have one of my great friends. I've had so many people help me on this project, but one of my great friends came down and he was helping me as a producer, and we had a list of the photos that we want to accomplish. He's like, okay, we have this, let's get it done. And I always felt like, I don't think it's just going to be done. There's more to do and more to discover. And there have been different sort of moments where the project took like a leap. So it started as this photo series of installations, and then these photographs got mixed with installations. So the two-dimensional became three-dimensional, and that sort of took the project to a new place. And then this idea of the museum, which incorporates education and community-based art and a museum without walls. And this idea of the museum, the museums in the world sort of dictate what we value as human beings. We say, this is important and this important. We're going to preserve this and we're going to preserve that so people can see it. And for me, I wanted to kind of question what we really value. Not that what's in museums doesn't have value, but perhaps this garbage should be seen as having more value, because most importantly, when it destroys the environment, that's a value that's being destroyed as well. So the project has really evolved over the years, and we'll see. I feel like I have larger vision for what I would like to do. Potentially have a mobile museum that sort of takes all of my precious trash and moves it up the coast, and a team of people to clean the beach and educate and exhibit the work all up and down the coast and potentially all over the world. But I need support and funding for that. So I'm working on that, and we'll see how that goes. But putting it out to the universe that I would like support on this project. I need to make the project sustainable as well. And so we'll see where that goes. I also, honestly though, I've been working with this plastic material, which is toxic, for now 14 years. And I would like to turn to other work. I have several bodies of work that I'd like to put more time and energy into. And so I'll see how much more, how much further this project goes with the plastic before I turn to some other ideas that I have.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely want to talk about, the other things which you are thinking in terms of future projects. But before that, tell me this, because this is the current project that you're working on. This definitely has an intention behind it. This is not some ornamental, aesthetically designed stuff that you're creating so that it can be hung on living rooms. There is an objective behind it. There's an intention behind it. As the project has moved and continues to move, do you sort of measure up that, these are my stated goals and this is the kind of impact that I have been successful in creating? Is there sort of like a parameter or a benchmark that I have met my goals, or this part of my goal is something that I have not met? And is that probably a motivation to further continue the project?
It's interesting when you start to think about to quantify the impact that the project has. I think that's something that funders would like to know. Okay, if I'm going to invest in this project and support this project, show me uh, show me numbers, show me how this project has had an impact. And it's hard to quantify that sometimes, because when you work with young people and you don't know how much it's actually affecting their lives and impacting them. But I've had many young people write to me and just write and say that the project has impacted their lives, that it's made them think differently, or that they're working on this project in school where they're talking about my work or seeing my work published in different magazines and books. I think the work has gotten out there. It's gotten into people's consciousness, and it's hard to measure how much it really affects people. But I know it's affected me. The first thing that I changed when I started this project was like, oh, why am I buying water bottles? Why am I buying water in these bottles? Why? And the first thing I did, which was a very simple change, was to buy my own water bottle and to refill it. And so, and then little by little over the years, I didn't go back to my normal life and change everything immediately. It was like things happened slowly over time. Change doesn't happen overnight, but then, using, bringing my own bags to the supermarket and, things like that. And then also seeing change in the local community, or actually in Mexico. Since I started the project, they made a law forbidding plastic bags in stores. So that was a major change when I came back, and this massive supermarket wasn't giving out plastic bags. They used to just give plastic bags to everyone, and now you have to bring your own bag or buy your own reusable bags. And so changes like that give me hope and make me feel like there is an impact that this project is having. And not just my project. Obviously, many people are involved in this field of raising awareness around plastic pollution. So, and then in terms of change and benchmarks, I think a lot of this, a lot of the sort of the change that people expect is for the consumer to make change. But I think it's the corporations that really need to make bigger change. We need to be offered as consumers products that are designed to not destroy the environment. So, and also, people who design products, and there needs to be, I would like in my lifetime to have this issue just solved. Like that's the goal, is to not have a poison going into the ocean day after day, tons and tons of it. So I think product design needs to change, and corporations need to take the lead on redesigning these products. So there's more work to be done. But yeah, I feel like the project has had some impact. Hard to measure it.
Mhm. No, I think that's very interesting, because I kind of echo your thoughts as well in terms of how it has affected me personally. Exactly the same thing. I mean, relatively speaking, before we started really getting into this project, I was probably aloof to the fact that I was not conscious whenever I was buying maybe a bottle, a plastic bottle of some aerated drink, or a plastic bag usage in a supermarket. But now it seriously, I mean, you think twice before you actually use one of these products, and you make a conscious effort to bring your own bags, and you bring your own water bottles, like you said. And the other thing which is very important that nobody tends to talk about is taking it to the corporates. I think it takes an all-round effort, not just from the end user, but the governments, the policymakers, as well as the corporates, because there are feasible packaging solutions, for example. But for whatever reason, and I doubt if it's always cost, there might be powerful lobbies at work which does not want these things to be solved. Whatever reason, I think the corporates need to own up to this responsibility as well. So that's very important. I'm very happy you mentioned
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about what are these new things or new mediums? What are kind of new projects that, even if you're thinking about them, maybe if you can give the audience a sneak peek into what's coming next.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I love materials, materiality, just I, if I had infinite time to live, I would love to have a project on every material, do a project with wood, a project with metal, a project with, I mean, and then infinite types of wood and infinite types of metal. But I've been I collect things. And for the past 15 years as well, I've collected eggshells. And I think that would be the next project that I really go full force with. It's very different than plastic. It's also a container, though. I mean, these plastic containers, um, that wash up along the shore here, um, don't disintegrate and are obviously terrible for the environment. But eggshells are they're just a magical material, and when you go into taking them apart, they can become a powder. There's like a thin paper lining on the inside of them, and making sculptures with eggshells. I'm kind of fascinated with it. It's a very different material. It's also garbage, though, for some people, although it can be used as fertilizer. And I think it's rich with metaphor. Maybe it's a little cliche, the idea of the egg, but it's very rich, and it's an amazing material. And but yeah, I've collected specimens of insects, and I've cut my own hair for the past several decades, and so I have a collection of my hair that I'd like to make sculpture with, also considered garbage to some people. And my studio is filled with like old tangled yarn and insect specimens and eggshells and old broken ceramics. I have a bunch of different materials that I'm looking forward to getting into. And this idea of the Museum of Garbage might be, I don't know, we'll see. Right now it's all focused on plastic and plastic pollution. But it might come to embody my life's work if I continue to work with all of these materials that most people would consider garbage. So maybe the Museum of Garbage will be like, will then come to include all of these different materials that I work with over my lifetime. We'll see. I don't know where it will go right now, because maybe I'll work with other materials that have nothing to do with this concept. But I could see these other materials fitting into this idea of the Museum of Garbage. We'll see how it goes.
Sounds very interesting. We're going to keep our ears and eyes open. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. You just mentioned working with such material is harmful for your health. It is toxic, and yet you carry on, and that's very, very noble. And the world appreciates people like you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview.